What's up, guys? Alex here. We're back in my garage with a long overdue update on this beautiful piece of machinery behind me here, my MV Agusta F3800. I had planned on making this a winter project. I bought it last October. The guy that sold it to me said it needed a starter clutch. Turned out to be a little more complicated than that. And it's an interesting story. So I'm gonna sit down and tell it to you. Okay, so this is a 2014 MV Agusta F3800. It's a 3-cylinder 800cc engine. I found this bike on Facebook Marketplace back in October of last year. The seller said it needed a starter clutch. I thought that it might be a good winter project, so I scooped it up. When I got it home, I started researching on the forums, trying to figure out how difficult the job was, if anybody had done it before, et cetera, et cetera. Found out that the starter clutch on this bike is on top of the engine, right in the middle. So the gas tank has to come off, the throttle bodies have to come off, the air box has to come out, and anything else in the way up top here basically needs to come out of the bike. So it's a little more complicated than I had hoped for, but not a big deal. In my mind, I had all winter to work on it. So I decided to call the dealership for two reasons. One, to check on parts, and two, some of the guys on the forums said that MV Agusta was still warrantying the starter clutch because it was a known issue. So I was going to check on parts and also see if they would warranty the bike for me, which would be a win-win in my mind. So I called the dealership, and Bellevue Motorsports, our local MV Agusta dealer, says, yeah, we should be able to get it warranted for you. So I said, great, come get it. So they came and got it. I didn't know this at the time, but right around the same time, KTM bought majority ownership stake in MV Agusta. Apparently they fired a bunch of people. Things at corporate got a little messy. So Bellevue Motorsports ordered my parts, but the parts didn't come for 4 months. When they finally did come, they opened the bike up and realized that not only did it not have a starter clutch in it, everything in the way had sort of been taken out and just placed gently back in, but also that the engine was blown. So I bought a bike which I thought needed a starter clutch. Turns out had a blown engine in it. So long story short, they don't make a ton of these, so there are no motors available on eBay. I asked the dealer what the cost to repair the motor would be, and they told me that they would need time to get it out of the bike and disassemble it to give me an accurate quote. I said, that's fine, it's the winter time, take your time, just let me know how it goes. So fast forward, a month or two, they've got the engine out, they get it torn apart, and the quote to repair it is $12,000, which is a little crazy. In perfect running condition, decent cosmetic shape, this is probably a $9,000, maybe $10,000 bike. So spending $12,000 on an engine rebuild was just out of the question. So MV makes a few different models that they use a variation of this engine in, the 800cc engine. The RIVALE, or RIVALE, I don't know how you say that, or the Brutale, or Brutale, however you say it. It's tuned a little different in this bike. It makes, I think, 20 more horsepower than the other two. There's a couple other differences, I think different cans or something, I'm not entirely sure. So I thought, well, maybe I could just make a Frankenstein, find one of those on eBay and, put it in the bike. The dealership seemed to think that that would work. So I started looking at engines on eBay. There were 3 available, none for the F3, but I think 2 for the RIVALE and 1 for the Brutale. The cheapest of the 3 was $3,600. While I was browsing or figuring out what to do with the other engine, that seller sent me an offer for 50% off, which was fantastic. So I ended up getting the engine for $1,800. I had it shipped directly to the dealership. I had to buy an ECU to match, because the engine has to match the ECU in terms of model. So the dealership took the bike apart, which is kind of a crazy process. On this particular bike, on the F3, the bike basically needs to be split in 2 in order to get the engine out. Basically from here back, this support section, there's an identical one on the other side, comes off the back, the swing arm comes off, and then the trellis frame and the forks and the triples and all this stuff comes off the front, and then the engine comes out. Kind of a crazy process. I absolutely did not want to deal with that myself. So since the dealership had the bike and had already, mostly taken it apart to get the original engine out, I said, well, just put it back in. So had it shipped there, they did the work. Fast forward to about a month ago, I finally got the bike back. It runs, it rides, it's a ton of fun. Just looking at it, you would never know that happened. The engine is identical to the engine that was in it previously. It even says F3 on the other side of it. The previous owner had dropped it in his driveway, so there were some marks on the fairing here that were through the paint, and on the other side there was just some like unevenness. So while it was in the shop, I took these panels off and took them to paint, had them repainted, ordered some custom decals for it up here to give it kind of like a custom but also stock look. And then I ordered these stickers here, also had these custom made, to just bring it back to, its original beauty, really. It had the stock mirrors on it when I bought it. So I took those off and installed these mirror block off plates with integrated turn signals, and then put these CRG bar ends on it. A couple other little things, like the clutch lever on the other side was silver and didn't match this black one, so I ordered a black one and installed that myself. Other than that, I haven't really done much to it. It came with these nice tech spec pads on it. The Leo Vince exhaust was on it when I bought it. It sounds great. It sounds like a little Ferrari. It's pretty cool. Already had a tail tighty on it, so that's good. Yeah, other than that, it's a ton of fun. But it's been a bit of a process to get here, so it's been interesting. All right, so that's basically the story. I will probably end up keeping the bike through the winter and into next spring, and then riding it a little bit, and then probably selling it. The issue is I don't really have any idea what it's worth. It's had a motor transplant. The engine in it doesn't really belong to the bike itself. It's from a completely different model. However, it's a ton of fun to ride. It's plenty fast. I didn't get to ride it before it had the transplant, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But it's still plenty fast, and if I didn't know that it had been transplanted, I wouldn't be able to tell. It's a lot of fun to ride. So if you have thoughts on what it might be worth, or anything else really, drop a comment, let me know what you think about it. And I'll give you an update in the springtime. Thanks.